and welcome. You're tuning in to Unbreakable Hope with me, your host, Jessica Rose. This podcast is all about seeking the light. In each episode, we chat with someone who has either overcome the darkness or who is actively spreading light within their own community. So let's jump into today's episode. Today's special guest, Ashton, is going to be talking about Ragdolls. If you don't know what that is, stay tuned. I learned so much today. But pets are an important part of our lives. They're great for our mental health, taking care of them, having them around in our lives. And Ashton shares so much insight into what it is to be a cat breeder. So stick around for today's chat. And you may, if you're watching the video footage here, get to see some of these adorable cats. Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited for our chat for multiple reasons, to get to know a little bit more about you and all the amazing work that you do, but also to get to know about your furry loves too. So
Yay, happy to be here. My name is Ashton Tate, and I am a ragdoll breeder and I work in technology and also in design. So I kind of am a bit of a Renaissance woman, have been referred to, jack of all trades, kind of thing. So my kind of pet passion project is definitely my ragdoll cats. I started getting into breeding about 4 years ago, and one of the main reasons why I have really loved kind of the whole journey of becoming a breeder is because it has really helped my mental health, which is kind of a surprising thing considering how much of a daunting task it is to like become a breeder and have the responsibility of, breeding for other people's households and everything. So overall, it's been a very exciting journey.
I didn't know how much work was going into becoming a breeder and like how you even get started in this. But I know when we first met and you had mentioned the kitties, I was like, I'm a cat lover. I think cats are so cool. You can automate them, unlike dogs. I feel like dogs are a lot more needy than cats. But I love that you bring that up, is that becoming a breeder, that this has actually helped with your mental health, because a lot of people, animals are their significant relationship, right? That's their one constant in their lives. And a lot of times people don't credit or understand that a loss of a pet is a huge loss for people. And
Mhm.
it's a grief that I've actually been going through. We lost a dog, and I wasn't actually expecting to be as worked up as I was about it. Uh,
Yeah, it's
so
hard.
I love that you're able to help so many families with these kittens. So tell us more. Obviously, for those who are watching the video feed, you're going to get to see some kitties. But if you're listening to this, then maybe you need to go check out the video feed if you want to see these beautiful kitties.
So I started breeding about 3.5 years ago, so almost 4 years ago. And during the overall process, I had to do a lot of research to get started because it's a lot of responsibility for their health and the outcome of pairing certain lines together. And I did my due diligence and am still constantly doing my due diligence, studying and learning, latest developments in medical care and latest developments in genetic testing. And so it has been a real privilege to help other families kind of get their dream cat. A lot of people consider Ragdoll like one of their dream pets that they would love to add to their family. And I kind of felt the same way, and that's how I ended up getting my first Ragdoll several years ago, was because I have always been a cat person. I grew up on a farm in Arkansas. We have always had a lot of animals. I've grown up with tons of cats, tons of dogs, horses, cows, guineas, chickens. I've grown up around all of that stuff my entire life. And so as I got older, I gifted myself a rag doll for one of my birthdays. And from there, I just knew I wanted to kind of take on the responsibility of perpetuating the breed and making sure that the breed can still exist for future families, because I was so impressed and loved my rag doll so much. And I'm really glad that I decided to take up that gauntlet, I guess. And it has been a really rewarding and trying process to become a breeder and gain experience breeding, but I've met some amazing people who have really been guiding and mentoring me throughout the entire process, helping me through difficult times if there's, issues with labor or if there's issues with a buyer like backing out or wanting a type of pet that like I don't have. I only breed a specific color and pattern because that's my favorite color and pattern. So sometimes I have to be armed with like referrals for referring that client out to another breeder who I trust, after building relationships with different people and everything, for if they're looking for a specific color or if I may not have kittens available at the time. So overall, it's been a very interesting process to get to know the whole world of cat breeding, of pedigree cat breeding. And it's been really fun, and I'm excited to continue doing it. And like I said, the impact to my mental health has been a very positive one. Despite the trying times, it is such a joy to wake up in the morning and see the kittens and play with them and see how they're doing and how they're growing and update the parents for how they're doing and what their little personality is developing like. And oh my, there's one attacking me right now. Um, so yeah.
I thought there's so much joy that can be brought with pets, and I don't know, I've always been a cat person. So kind of like yourself, I grew up in the country too. I worked at a horse barn. I didn't own any horses myself, but we had all kinds of different animals, and I always wanted a cat. But my mom was allergic, didn't want cats, didn't want to mess with the cats. And then I finally got one. And I always wanted an orange cat. So it's interesting, as you were saying, like sometimes people like their dream cat. I wanted a big old fat orange cat like Garfield. I wanted to feed my cat a whole pan of lasagna. Like that's what I thought that's what cats were. Big fat orange, ate a pan of lasagna. But I love being able to have this conversation where the importance of our health, right? Having a pet in our lives and affecting our health. But you also brought up the health of the actual kitten and proper breeding, because I think we run into that a lot, especially when it comes to service dogs are the most popular service animal. And that system gets so abused that even when you have breeders, then there's a lot of just really bad tactics that are just not safe for the animal even. So I'd love to hear a little bit more, like when it comes to you have to put in a lot, like you said, the research and genetic testing and all this to make sure that it's safe for the kittens. And what does that look like? I mean, as a breeder, how many times can a cat have a litter? I don't even know how that works.
So the safe range for a ragdoll specifically, obviously my specialty is ragdoll cats. So my research revolves around any information that I share revolves around ragdoll cats specifically. So science shows that a female cat can have many litters throughout her life, but usually ethical breeders will limit it to they need to be at least a year and a half approximately old, and then we don't breed them past approximately 6 years or 5 years. And in that time, usually you will only breed maybe once per year. And then in that time, you can have maybe 4 to 5 litters in that gap of year and a half to 6. You can have approximately 4 to 5 litters. And after that, they are fixed and either kept as pets for us, or we will find a home that they can go to and live a pet life. So a comfortable pet life after they're fixed. And, of course, all updated on their vaccines and everything. So and for boys, it's approximately the same. They are ready to breed usually around 6 to 7 months, and then they are usually fixed around 6 years old. And then, they are sent to they either are kept with us as pets, or we offer to have them adopted by another family that will keep them as an adult ragdoll.
And that probably helps the longevity of a pet's life, right?
It does, yeah, absolutely. So it's healthy for the cats to do their natural thing because female cats want to have kittens. They go into heat, they cry and roll around and do all their lordosis and all this crazy stuff when they're in heat. And so it's good to allow their hormones to, produce what it's going to produce because just like in humans, if a pregnancy doesn't take, it doesn't take. Just because a mating has happened doesn't mean that a pregnancy occurs. So it's a lot of just monitoring their natural process, like what they would do naturally, and also making sure that they are separated when they need to be separated, that the mom and dad are separated when you're not trying to let them produce anything. And then also making sure, I think I mentioned this before, making sure that the genetic testing, the blood typing, even, all these things have to be checked before you can put two together. So you have to make sure that all of that aligns before you can even allow them to try to breed. So it is good for their health to allow them to do the things that they want to do, naturally as cats, but it's also good for them to be fixed and, let their bodies grow and let their fur grow and let them gain a little bit of weight and, sturdy up, once, like, for example, mommy is done breastfeeding or, once daddy is done, like, mating. It's a good thing also to have them fixed after that life process because then it allows their body to rest. So similar to human women, we don't want to have too many kids, or not enough kids. We kind of want to try to have something, correct in the middle. But like with human pregnancy, it's a natural process and you have to do the best you can with your partner and whatever naturally occurs out of that pairing is what is going to naturally happen. And it's kind of the same for cats as well.
What's the average life expectancy or lifespan of a ragdoll?
It's around 15 years, so it's pretty standard for cats. They are a larger breed, so there are health concerns that you have to watch out for during the course of their life, like obesity, arthritis, and things like that as they, age. But the expectancy is around 15 years, which is kind of what a general average cat lifespan is. So,
I think of that a lot when our dog passed away. She was at kind of the top of her life expectancy, and she had a lot of health stuff. She ended up with, I don't even think we got a final count of how many tumors she had, but
oh,
I remember when she passed away, I looked at our golden doodle and I thought, oh my goodness, because we used to joke that between my husband's dog and my cat, who's going to outlive who? And we're pretty sure it's going to be the dog. She was going to outlive all of us. All right. But then when she passed, I'm like, oh my goodness, my cat, he's 13 years old. And I look at the golden doodle, I instantly go to Google. I'm like, how long do golden doodles, like, what's their average lifespan? And then I thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to go through all these emotions and do this again in like 2 years and then
a
probably another
lot.
2 years. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I like that. So I started looking into, okay, what is the best diet for them? Am I feeding them the best food to keep them
Yeah.
alive forever? Because there is that huge connection that I think sometimes some of us as pet owners, I say like, myself included in this, is like we take advantage of it or we don't
For
really
granted. You take it for
take,
granted. Yeah.
yeah. So we're like, oh, we have this dog or we have this cat, but then when you don't have them, or you're like, this is your solid. This is, my cat will listen to me most of the time.
Hmm.
Well, maybe other people don't. And it's nice. I have a friend who had a cat who's been with her through her cat lived, I think, 18 years.
Good lifespan.
Yeah, been through all these different life changes and events and stuff. So I'm sure that that's also something that's probably hard for you as well. As like you get to be able to bless all these families with this beautiful cat that's going to be a huge part of their life. But then when it comes time, if you do have to rehome one, I don't know if I could do it. I didn't ever.
Hard. I'm not gonna lie. It's very, very hard. It's a labor of love. Like I said, I got into the breeding process because if there are no breeders of cat breeds, then the breed doesn't exist. So if you think about it that way, because if there are really rare breeds on like the International Cat Association website where there's only like two breeders registered in the United States. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this breed is like at risk, And fortunately, Ragdolls and Maine Coons are the two most popular breeds right now, according to litter registration data and data that Tika and the Cat Fancier Association can produce from their registration systems. So they know that those two breeds are healthy and doing good right now. But there are breeds that are not doing so great. There are some breeds that have risk of, having they either it either produces genetic problems because there's so few of them in existence that there's not enough genetic variation to keep the breed healthy. Or if there's not enough breeders, then the breed just doesn't exist anymore. So it's a lot of responsibility, but part of breeding and taking up the kind of gauntlet of preserving the breed and trying to aim for the breed standard, like what the best case scenario ragdoll is. Part of that is having to retire your kings, retire your queens, let kittens go. You also have to be very careful about what kittens you select to keep to continue lines where you get your king and queen from. You have to consider all of these things whenever you are becoming a breeder. And I fortunately have had the experience of the majority of people who are interested in the investment of adding something like a pedigree cat to their family. They're usually very serious about the adoption. They're doing a lot of research. They are looking at the registration websites. They're checking for registered breeders. They're checking for health concerns. Usually, people are doing their due diligence whenever they are choosing to adopt a pedigree cat. And that fortunately means that the families who are adopting them are very excited about them. They're very passionate about cats. They're very excited to add them to their family, whether it's for their children or for other cats they have in their family, or even for their dogs, because in the case of ragdolls, they get along really well with dogs as well. So it is very, very hard to part with your cats, especially when you've been with them for years. Because, like I said, your kings and queens, usually you don't retire them until they're, about 6 years old, so you have them for a while and then you have to, let them be adopted because you have to do the best you can to make sure that your next generation of cats is the most ideal, healthy, strong as you possibly can create. So it's definitely a, like I said, labor of love for sure.
Well, and I love that you brought up that people can go online and they can look to see what this vetting is because this is something that I've never even thought of. And now I'm over here like, oh, well, if Loki ever dies, I keep telling myself I'm not going to replace any of the pets. Like, I can't take on any more responsibilities. This is too much for me. But I'm over here like, well, if Loki died, it sounds like a really good cat to adopt. And you did talk about before we started recording, we were talking about how a friend of mine is a dog person and doesn't like cats, but you were describing some of the behaviors of the cats, which are very dog-like.
Oh yes, definitely. For Ragdoll specifically, their nickname, like in community, is the puppy cat. They're called a puppy cat because they behave like puppies and they continue to behave like puppies even as they grow up, which is very unique. So I have an American domestic cat. She's my oldest cat. I've had her she'll be 9 years old in April. So she is my OG, my big black cat, and she is very different. Her behavior is very different from the rag dolls. She's very quiet. She doesn't play with toys much anymore because she's older. She's an older adult cat, so she's just not interested in those things. But I found that even when the rag dolls grow up, they still love to play with their toys. They will still get toys out. We have a toy box for them. They will pull out their toys. They'll still play and roll around and love their feather wands and all the things that older cats kind of lose interest in over time. So I don't know if it's just because their personality is bred to be very docile and friendly, if that kind of lends itself to them being more playful and more cuddly and friendly. But they are definitely different from regular house cats. They're kind of bred to be almost like the most ideal house cat, if you can think of it that way.
I like it. It makes me think of a lot of reasons why people get service dogs. It's kind of having the responsibility, having someone that they can spend time with and play with and those kind of things. And you're right, as some animals get older, they don't, especially cats, they don't typically want to do that. So that's fun to hear that the ragdolls do that. They do want to play, they want to interact, those kind of things. My cat loves lovin's. He loves cuddles, like he has to be in the bed. He wedges himself between my husband and I. And he loves like when my friend comes over and like roughs him up like a
Mhm.
dog where you like scrub and pet on him and pat on him and stuff. He just loves that. But as far as playing, my cat doesn't really play. Uh,
Yeah.
but it would be fun to have that kind of almost like it's a social interaction with an animal, which is really exciting to have that. For me, where I'm at in my life, I already have so many responsibilities that my everything is automated. Both my cat and dog have auto feeders,
Hmm.
and my cat also has the auto litter box that washes and flushes the crystals and everything. It is amazing. It's expensive. It's an investment. Totally worth it.
Nice. That's awesome. I still do everything the old-fashioned way.
Oh,
And also because I constantly monitoring them, I have to be constantly watching their behavior, their body weight, things like that. So I watch who eats, who doesn't eat, if they're losing weight, if they're gaining weight, if they're feeling a little bony, if they're not. There's just so when you're breeding, there's so many things that you have to do, just keep super close eye on whenever you have, you know, multiples in your house. And if one's getting skinny, I might have to feed them by themselves and let them eat, on their own to make sure they're getting extra food. And because ragdolls also, they don't have hardly any food aggression. So they're not going to like growl at each other they're not going to be shoulder checking each other to try to get to the food bowl. I have a cat, one of my cats that is a ragdoll. She just will not eat when others are at the bowl. She just won't. She just will walk away, walk around, cry for pets and things like that. And then once they leave the bowl, then she'll go eat at the bowl. That's the level of no food aggression that ragdolls have. You have to be really careful and watch them because their temperament is what makes them special, but their temperament is also why they don't have that food aggression because that has been kind of like removed from the equation over time. So you just have to keep a close eye on all of them and do the best you can with checking each one all the time. And we pick them up and handle them a lot and make sure they're feeling good and responding good and playing well and all of that. So, yeah, they're silly.
that makes me think too of some of the litter commercials that you're right. You would want to make sure that they're being able to even go to the bathroom right and everything looks okay because you're also, like you said, you're protecting this breed to be able to continue on so more families can experience the love of these rag dolls and
Mm-hmm.
making sure that you're providing a healthy baby to a new family because that would suck if you're like, oh, I have this dream cat and I've spent all this time researching and finding and wanting this cat, and then you get a cat and there's something going on with it. So you really are putting in so much attention to these cats, which I think that's one of the things that's really good about having a responsibility, something that you can invest in, and you're literally getting to see these kittens grow and then getting to see these families that are so happy to be able to take one of these kittens on. That's, I'm sure, a really great experience in all this too.
It is. It helps ease the process of letting the kittens be adopted by other families. And I really appreciate when the adoptive families will send me video updates or pictures or, things like that. I've had families say Happy Mother's Day, because, and I don't have children. So of course that means a lot to me because, they kind of understand from my perspective, like kind of why I'm, doing it. It's for adding a living creature to your family. And so that's really special when they do that. It just really helps kind of remind me of like why it's such a special process and why I got involved in it in the first place. And I just love it in general. It's just a really, really great. I never, if you had told me 10, 15 years ago that I would be, a champion ragdoll cat breeder, I would have been like, what are you talking about? That sounds crazy, but that's how life is sometimes. You end up in pathways that you don't really expect, and just go on a route and then you end up liking it and then you just kind of grow out from there. And so that's definitely, I do not plan on stopping anytime soon. I'm probably going to still be doing this, into our future, even if we have children. I'm probably still going to be doing this. So it provides a lot of interesting life experiences and even some travel experiences as well because of the delivery. You might have to deliver kittens to different locations. I've had kittens delivered to multiple states at this point. I also have located kings and queens in the United States, elsewhere in the United States, and then my queen is from the Netherlands. And then I just recently adopted a new king who is also from the Netherlands. So I traveled there recently to visit and see him and everything like that. So it's a very interesting thing to get into. And it can take you all over the world depending on where people are inquiring for kittens. And the special thing about doing this now in this time period is that social media is one of the most important aspects of a small business. And whenever you're on social media, people are inquiring from all over. From the Middle East, Asia, Europe, Australia. I mean, just all over the United States, which itself is huge. So you're just getting inquiries from all over, depending on where people are contacting you from, via social media. So it's very neat.
That's cool that you get to travel a lot too. I couldn't imagine, I just love getting to know people. I joke when I'm on a plane, I don't get any work done because I always end up talking to the person next to me. You'd be that person I'd sit down and be like, oh, like, what do you like to do for fun? Or, where are you traveling to? And you're like, oh, I'm going to the Netherlands to go look at a cat that I'm about to adopt. Like, that sounds like the wildest story. Like, you would not expect from somebody that you're
Yeah.
that far. Like, that's
It
really.
sounds silly. It sounds like it's like, are you kidding me? You're flying literally across the world, like to go look at a cat. Like, yeah, I get it. I
But
totally get it.
when you're able to tell people like, yeah, it's this ragdoll and I'm protecting this breed and creating the longevity and how much goes into it. It's so fascinating to have cool passions like that. It's not something that you run into every day.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah,
I
like I said, yeah, if you had told me, like I said, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that I would be doing this like to the level that I do, showing and, purchasing new kings and queens, and I just would have never thought that it would be something that had become so important to me and something that had really impacted my life in such a positive way, other than getting to have more cats.
yeah, I love that you're so honest about that is that it's improved your life and your mental health and helped you move forward and think of like all of the lives that you're able to impact by being able to provide them this opportunity as well. When we first met, we met at a mock pageant and you were telling me about the Ragdolls and I didn't even in that moment I didn't realize how much meaning and how much they were a part of your life. I was just like, oh,
Mhm.
I like cats, you got cats, cool, right?
Yeah.
So getting to hear more about them and ever since then following you on Instagram and seeing you post about the kittens, it's just been really cool to follow it and learn about this. This is something that I don't know any other breeders of any kind of animal. So this
Yeah,
is.
it's probably really unexpected, right? Because you meet people and you're like, "Oh, you're a cat lady. Oh, you're a fellow cat lady." I'm like a cat lady to the max. I'm like a maximalist cat lady, you know.
Yeah, I love it. It's so awesome. Well, you did say you have a kitten maybe close to you. We may get to see a kitten. I'm really excited about this. I'm sorry if you all are listening and not getting to watch the kittens, but there'll be links below where you can connect.
Let me go get one. There's one right over here. Oh, you come
And
here.
I hope you were so excited about getting to see these kittens.
Well, this is one of my bigger cats. This is Pierre. He is a
So big.
he is huge, yes. He is gigantic. He is a double grand champion. Ragdoll. Yes, he is. But
I love him and I want to pet him so bad.
so here's that's a big one. He's not fully grown yet either. Let me get a kitten.
Oh my goodness. They just look like so much love.
Oh, they're wonderful. They're absolutely amazing. This
Okay,
is Lorraine.
how old?
She is 14 weeks.
Oh, she's already that big. Oh
Yep.
my goodness.
Yeah, very sweet.
How
She's
long does it
on
take to
our
brush
mama.
one of them?
Do what?
Do you brush them? Like how long
Yeah,
does
yeah, yeah. You
it
can
take
brush
to
them. Yeah,
brush
you should brush
them?
them once a week or so.
Yeah.
Give them lots of pets. That also helps keep the hair, loosen the hair and everything. But yeah, overall, ragdolls are kind of bred to be kind of low maintenance compared to some other types of cats. So, for example, Persians, you have to brush them. They cannot survive without maintenance by humans. So ragdolls are bred to be lower maintenance, so that way you don't have to worry as much about matting and a lot of seasonal shedding and things like that. So ideally, there will be shedding, of course, because it's a pet, but it's supposed to not be as bad as some other breeds out there. So, or like American domestic cats and things like that.
Yeah, I have a domesticated a long hair. He's part Siamese, so he talks a lot like me. But he does shed a lot and I brush him weekly and he loves it. He
That's
that's what
good.
he's like, get me in the belly. No, get this side. You missed a spot over here. It's so cute. But
Mhm.
I mean, I shed. My hair is everywhere all the time. So we always joke, like I think I shed more than the pet sometimes.
I get that. I totally get that. I don't think I have any other babies around me. I see Margot over there. Yeah. But anyway, they're busy playing right now. They didn't want to see mommy because they were busy playing with their toys over there. But yeah, that's them at 14 weeks old. So they are almost ready to go to their new home. So one of the kittens that I had in my hand was the boy on this side. His name is Ignatius, and he's being adopted. And he gets surgery for getting fixed in a couple weeks, and then he'll be ready to go after that. So once they're desexed and spayed or neutered, then I let them recover for a while, make sure everything is good, make sure they're healing, no infection, all of that type of thing, and then they're ready to go to their new home.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
exciting. And also the responsibility of that too. Pets are a true responsibility and upkeep. And I think that people who get pets that sometimes we forget how much we need. But I love that you're even the forethought of it is making sure that they're spayed or neutered, that their health and is going well so that way that they have this longevity and you're passing them off to a family to make sure that there aren't, accidental kittens. And
exactly. Yes. And most ethical breeders will fix them before they go home. So, and another people sometimes don't like that they have to be with you until 16 weeks, but they're still nursing, like
Mm.
to put it into perspective. So I mean, they are still nursing on mom multiple times a day at this point. So it doesn't bother me personally, like as someone who has purchased, obviously I've purchase multiple rag dolls because of the nature of what I do, and I am perfectly okay with them waiting and staying with mom. Like, I don't care if they stay for 6 months. It doesn't, stuff like that doesn't bother me because I know the importance of them, needing to be with mom and everything. And for some, though, some breeders that are not as ethical will let them go really, really young. Like anything younger than I would say 12 weeks is too little. They need to be with mom for, I would say, at least 4 months solid. So that way they can nurse as long as possible while they're still growing and needing all the extra nutrition. And then we also feed them extra food on top of their regular food to help them gain and make sure that they have enough nutrition to grow their little bones and grow their hair coat, all their pretty coat out. So it's a lot. It's a lot. They stay with me for quite a while, but yes, they are absolutely fixed, fully vetted, tested, vaccinated, checked by physically by the vet multiple times before they leave my care. So I just make sure they're as up to date as possible, while not trying to keep them for 10 years because if I could, I would.
You would have a whole ragdoll farm.
Yeah, oh, I would, girl. I would. I would be like buying something ranch over here in West Texas or Northwest area, and I'd be having tons of cats if I could do it. And sanctuary and probably fostering other cats and
Yeah.
all the whole nine yards.
I love it. And I love how much that you care about these cats. Like you're even saying, like, keep them with the mom. It's best for them long term, right?
Yeah, it
How
is.
can we make sure to set them up? And as you were talking about giving them the right nutrition and everything to be able to grow their bones, I can't help but think of like the Tyson chicken situation. It totally made me go there, but I'm like, but it's true. Like you want them to be healthy, and then I'm sure that helps with it later onset of arthritis rather than it coming in earlier is really
Mhm.
preparing them for a better life. And this has been such a fun chat and really getting to learn more about this process. And the kittens are cute. They're so adorable. I'm so excited. Maybe I can come down and play with one. I'll have to make a trip for that while you have some kittens in the house. So that'll be super fun.
Yes, they don't stay long. The time goes by super quickly. Just like with our own pets, like as they become adults, the time passes and before you know it, you've had them for 15 years and then you're just like, "Oh my gosh, like, they're getting to the age where we're going to have to think about, their end of life, and with the kittens, it's the same way because they're only with you for a few months and then they have to go on to their new home. And it goes by super, super fast. It's a slow process, but it's also a fast process. It's really, really hard to explain unless you're like in the thick of, dealing with it.
Yeah, yeah, that I mean that makes sense. It's almost like even with kids, they grow fast and you look back and you think, "What? How long has it been?"
Mm-hmm.
I mean my son's 20 and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Like
Mm-hmm.
he was 7 just a few years ago, right? You know?
Exactly.
So that's really sweet. I love what you're doing and I love how passionate you are to make sure that it is done properly,
Mm-hmm.
according to the laws, according to the books, but also what's in the best interest of the cats too. That's really great because I know, well, I don't know personally, but I've heard stories from people that I know of bad breeder situations where they talk about it, and a lot of what I hear is dogs. I don't even think about cat breeding. Like this is really cool.
Yeah, that's true. And I was just having a conversation with someone the other day about the concept that a lot of people don't even know that cats have breeds. They don't even know that there's such a thing as like different breeds of a cat. And that's, from my perspective as someone who has loved cats my whole life, I always used to watch the dog shows on TV, on Animal Planet and everything. And then you get into something like this and realize that a lot of people don't even know that there are pedigree cats and that there are different breeds that were bred for different things. And I'm really appreciative that you wanted to do this podcast because maybe it'll help raise a little bit of awareness that these breeds do exist and that there are breeders, out there who are striving to create the most optimal outcome for the breeding line. So, thank you for that.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for being on here. And I know we could chat like all day. I wish we had more time even when we were in person to chat more, but I want to make sure if there's anything else that you want to share with our listeners, if they're looking, I know you mentioned a couple websites we can include in the descriptions. Oh, there's another kitty.
Ah, it's Twinkle. She's from the Netherlands.
Oh, that's
She's
so
a
awesome.
good girl. She's a very, very good kitty. Yes, last minute comments. Let's see here. Can't think of any major closing items right now. I guess, would want to say thank you for having me on and giving me the opportunity to talk about one of my little passions, which is definitely my cats and the Ragdoll breed. So I'm super, super grateful, Jessica. It's super wonderful that you included me in your podcast series for this season.
Well, I'm so glad that you came on and I learned so much about Ragdolls, and also just the breeding process in general and how you can go and check to make sure if you're wanting to get a bred cat where you can make sure that you have a legit breeder and the process of that. And how cool is that? It's great to be able to find things that really give back to ourselves and also still being able to serve our community. So thank you for being here and all the amazing love that you pour into these gorgeous cats. Now I'm thinking about it.
Mm.
My husband's gonna be so sad. I'm gonna get off here and be like, babe, we need to get another cat.
Kitty, kitty. Yeah, I'm like that too. Every time there's a litter, I'm like, we cannot keep all of them. But like, look at this. I
Yeah.
mean, she's just the cutest thing. This
Oh,
this is
yes.
Olivia.
Oh,
Her. Oh, she just licked me. What you doing? You're so cute.
oh, I love
Sweet
it.
girl. But yes, thank you so much. It was so fun.
Yes. Thank you again. And yeah, we'll have the links below on how to connect. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. If you found this episode inspiring, please share it with someone you never know who needs more light in their life. May this serve as a reminder that there's always darkness in the world. Do not let it consume you. Always seek the light. Please take a moment to do the good old subscribe, rate, and review. Your support means so much to me, and it helps me spread more light and love. Until next time, be kind, be loving, be human, and don't ever let anyone steal your hope.